sir.
They ignorant of God's knowledge. Go ahead.
For they being ignorant of God's righteousness, and going about to establish their own righteousness.
You see that? They going about to establish their own righteousness. Now he talking about the children of Israel, right? So what do you think he think about anybody else then? This is who he gave his word to, right?
That's it.
Then they went about to establish their own righteousness. So what do you think he thinks about anybody else that don't conform to this, and then they go about establishing their own righteousness? It don't sit well with God, do it. It ain't no, you worship God the way you want to worship it, then I worship it the way I want to worship it. Everybody got to worship God the same, and that's his way.
Teach, brother. Teach.
That's his way. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about this. With man it is, but not with God. What verse you at?
In the middle of 3.
Go ahead. Start at verse 3 again.
Yes, sir. For they being ignorant of God's righteousness, and going about to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of God.
And that's what it all boils down. You submitting yourself. Man don't want to submit, do it. They want to, God made man in his image, but they try to make God after their image. Oh, we can worship God on the first day of the week. We only do this for convenience. Well, God didn't put that stipulation in there, did he? He didn't say you could do this if it's according to man's convenience, did he?
Come on, brother.
He even told you, man, the one that break the Sabbath, he said, put him to death. That's how serious this is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So your convenience don't matter to God. The way I feel, the way you feel don't matter to God. Either do it this way or die. And I'm talking about that second death, because he might let you slide for a little while now while you're living and everything. He let you slide. But oh boy, at the end of the road, he gonna be right there waiting on you.
That's it.
He's gonna be right there waiting on you. So he said, but they being ignorant of God's righteousness and going about there to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of God. God got a righteousness.
He does. Yes, sir.
He's got righteousness that he wants you to abide by. Read that verse 4. But because this is another this is another scripture they try to come up with. So we ain't ducking and dodging nobody. We ain't ducking and dodging nobody. Go ahead and read it.
For Christ is the end of the law. For righteousness to everyone that believeth.
Now, he said, Christ is the end of the Sabbath day. That's part of the law, ain't it? The command is part of the law.
Yes, sir.
Say, for Christ is the end of the law. What law is Christ end? That's what you got to go and find out. What law was Christ the end of? Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believeth. What law? We talking about the sacrificial law. That's what law Christ ended. Not the holy days, not the commandments, not the Sabbath day. He didn't end the Sabbath day. I'm going to show you. Now wait a minute. We got a problem there, because Christ said in Matthew 15? Think not that I come to destroy the law or the prophets. Till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle should in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled. Well, if Christ was the end of the commandments, which is the law, then why would he tell you that he didn't come to destroy the law of the prophets? So you got to go in there and search. What is he talking about? What is Paul talking about? See, Paul, his writing is hard to be understood. People that are unlearned, they rest in it, they twist it to their own destruction.
Yes, sir. See,
when I'm dealing with the law, I really don't go to Paul's writing, because people get kind of twisted in Paul's writing. I go to the prophets, and then I go to some of the other apostles dealing with the law before I get to Paul first. But the Lord told you, think not that I come to destroy the law. And then he tell you right here, for Christ is the end of it. What law is the end of? The sacrificial law.
Yes, sir. That's it, brother.
That's the law that he came to end, didn't it?
That's it. Yes, sir.
Let's go to you read verse no, that's all right. We ain't gonna read it no more. Let's go look at something. I'm trying not to get too heated up here. This is a heated subject for me. Let's read something about Sunday worship. Now I got this out of Catholic Encyclopedia. Okay. This was paid out of Catholic Encyclopedia, page 796. Just in case you want to go check it out. We're going to read all of this. First, we're going to read this, though.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Pharaoh Akhenaten and his family making offerings to the disk of the sun.
Uh-huh.
Limestone relief from El Amarna, 1350 BC,
now you
in
see
the
how,
Egyptian Museum,
now
Cairo.
You see how far back this sun worship goes? Probably goes back further than that. He said the Pharaoh Akhenaten and his family, they worshiping the sun disk. You can't see it, I'll pass it around, y'all can see it. They worshiping the sun disk, Atom, right? And this goes all the way back to 1350 BC. 1350 BC. The Lord had told Moses around 1451 BC, don't be worshiping the sun and the moon and the stars. You understand? Now we get all, because BC go down, right? So we get down to 1350 BC, and then what was the Egyptians doing? Worshiping the sun.
That's it.
Worshiping the sun. But go ahead and start reading over here now.
Yes, says since the sun is present in some way in most myths, worship of the sun or elements of the sun worship are found in almost all religions.
Ooh, you see that? The worshiping of the sun is found in almost what? All religions. All religions. We saw the children of Israel, they worship the sun, didn't they? Go ahead and read.
Sun worship is mostly on the fringes of mythology and cult.
Ooh, you better pay attention to this now. Better stop paying. It says sun worship is mostly on the fringes of mythology and what?
Cult.
Cult. We got to start paying attention to this. You know, we do things and we don't search it out before we start doing it. You understand? And I'm guilty of that myself, because I used to worship on Sunday. Until my brother started bringing this to me, and he beat me up so bad, I said, man, I better go check this out.
Yes, sir.
You know, I see he's showing me Sabbath. That's where did Sunday come from then? Sun worship is found in almost all religions. All religions. Now, let's go a little bit deeper with this. Like I said, we ain't trying to offend nobody.
No.
We just getting the facts here.
That's it, brother.
Now, and we trying to serve our God, aren't we?
Amen.
Now let's go to Psalms the 19th chapter. Psalms 19. Psalms the 19th chapter. And we're going to pick it up at verse 7. Psalm 19, and we're going to pick it up at verse 7. Psalm 19 and 7. Now it would behoove you to pay attention to this. Psalm 19 and 7. Go ahead.
The law of the Lord is perfect.
The law of the Lord, it is perfect. So we don't need to change it. Don't need no salt. Don't need no pepper then, do it.
No, sir.
We don't need to change nothing because the law of the Lord is perfect. Go ahead.
Converting the soul.
Oh, this how you get converted? By the law?
Yes, sir.
Most people don't understand this because, you know, they tell you, well, the law is done away with. Then if the law is done away with, then how you going to be converted?
Make that plain, brother.
You was once a liar and a thief. Then you read the book and it said, thou shalt not steal and thou shalt not kill. Right?
Yes, sir.
So ain't that the law?
Keep it simple.
Then if you stop doing this, then what converted you then?
Keep it simple.
The law.
Sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So if you don't keep the law, then you have been converted, then have you?
It's plain. Yeah.
It's that simple, ain't it?
Yes, sir.
Read that again.
The law of the Lord is perfect. Converting the soul.
Go ahead.
The testimony of the Lord is sure. Making wise the simple.
The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. Go read that next verse. Go ahead.
The statutes of the Lord are right. Rejoicing the heart.
Go ahead.
The commandment of the Lord is pure, enlightening the eye. The fear of the Lord is clean, enduring forever.
Go ahead.
The judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. More to be desired are they than gold, yea, than much fine gold, sweeter also than honey in the honeycomb.
Go ahead.
Moreover, by them is thy servant warned.
Ooh, you see that?
Yes,
Moreover,
sir.
by them is thy servant warned. Because he warned the children this way and said, look, if you found working on the Sabbath, you're going to be put to death, didn't you? He warned them, didn't he?
Yes, sir.
And we saw that man was put to death working on the Sabbath, picking up those sticks, wasn't he?
Yes, sir.
Moreover, by them is thy servant warned.
Yes, sir.
Finish that.
And in keeping of them, there is great reward.
And in keeping of them is what?
Great reward.
Great reward. Great reward. And ain't no greater reward than salvation is eternal life. Ain't no greater reward than that, is it?
Make that plain.
Moreover, in keeping of them is great reward.
Amen.
Let's go now. Let's see where this Sunday come from. Let's see where this Sunday come from. Because although, you know, men, the sun worship was found in almost all religions, somebody made this a law. Let's see who made this a law. Go ahead and read. Read the title.
Yes, Constantine's and other early Sunday laws.
Constantine and other early Sunday laws. But the law of the Lord is perfect, isn't it? Converting the soul. But now we got a man now saying, giving you Sunday as a law, don't we? Let's see who this man, I mean to have a picture of him, but that's all right, go ahead.
In his efforts to unite pagan sun worship with Christianity.
In his efforts to, you know, that kind of throwing me off a little bit.
That's all right, brother, that's all right.
Read that again. You always got to come around, but go ahead, man, I ain't going to even.
Satan is a lie, brother.
Yeah, go ahead.
In his efforts to unite pagan sun worship with Christianity. Constantine.
Now he putting these, trying to put these together. He ain't trying to incorporate these together. Pagan sun worship with what? Christianity. Well, what are the Christians? What did the Lord tell the Christians to keep? We gonna show you. First century Christians, they didn't keep Sunday. They did not keep Sunday. But go ahead and read.
Constantine found the common denominator.
Oh, so now he gonna try to please the people. He gonna introduce paganism with Christianity. So now he gonna find a common denominator. In other words, I'm gonna please both of y'all, the Christians, and we're gonna please the well, we ain't talking about Sabbath Christians.
No,
we talking about Sunday Christians.
Roman Christians.
Or Roman Christians.
Yes, sir.
What we call the phrase Roman Christians. But go ahead and read.
Yes,
so he gonna please both of them. Go ahead.
Sunday, both Christians and pagans held the day in high regard. At the beginning of
the fourth
century.
All right, so now at the beginning of the 4th century, it said Christians and pagans held this day Sunday in the high regard. Now we ain't talking about Sabbath Christians, because we gonna show, we ain't talking about Sabbath Christians, because we're gonna show you later that the 1st century Christians, they didn't keep Sunday as no Sabbath. But go ahead and read a little more though.
Yes, sir. Even the wording of the law shows that at the time of its inception.
Now wait a minute. Now whose law is this? This Constantine's law, ain't it?
Yes, sir.
This ain't God's law, because the law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul in it.
That's right, brother. Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
It says, even the wording of the law shows that at the time of its inception, he still wavered between paganism and Christianity.
See, so he wavering between this Christianity and paganism, because you know a lot of people try to say that Constantine, he was he the one who instituted Christianity to the Romans. But did he institute Christianity in the sense that he was keeping the Sabbath? No. So what did he give them then? He gave them his brand of Christianity. He didn't give them God's brand of Christianity. He didn't give them God's Sabbath. He gave them, because Emperor Constantine was a sun worshiper. So in his efforts to please the pagans and the Roman Christians, he said, I'm going to give y'all Sunday. In the 4th century, I'm going to give y'all Sunday. What was it before the 4th century? It was the Sabbath.
Yes, sir.
What?
Yes,
the
sir.
7th day of the week. And I'm here to tell you that it's still the 7th day of the week.
Amen, brother.
It's still the 7th.
Yes,
but go ahead and read though.
Okay, it says, by calling Sunday the vulnerable day of the sun.
See there? By calling Sunday the vulnerable day of the sun. Now, did we read earlier that Sunday was a pagan Roman holiday?
Yes, sir.
They were keeping this day. But go ahead and read.
It says Constantine showed his high regard for the pagan.
Oh.
For the pagans.
He showed his high regard for the pagans. Back he introduced this pagan Roman holiday and said, this is the day we're going to start worshiping on. Sunday. Go ahead.
While at the same time catering to the Western bishops of the Christian faith, which was crying out for such a decree.
See, so they, you know, they wanted a day that they could call their own, I guess. So he said, okay, we're gonna call it Sunday. We're gonna use this a pagan holiday, and we're gonna use this for a day of worship every first day of the week. And we're gonna make this a law. But the law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. Yes, so now we see where Sunday come from, don't we?
Yes, sir.
Emperor Constantine instituted this during the 4th century. Let's go to Psalms and well, you ain't got to finish the rest of that. Yeah, you ain't got to finish the rest of that. Now, let's go to Proverbs the 16th chapter. Proverbs 16. Proverbs 16. Because, you know, he might have thought that this was ever so right. He might have thought it was ever so right. He might have not did this intentionally to say, well, you know what, skip the Sabbath. I'm just giving him the benefit of the doubt. He could have said that. I don't know. I'm just giving him the benefit of the doubt. Well, he might not say skip the Sabbath. We're going to do it in order to please the people. We're going to give them Sunday instead of the Sabbath day. He might have thought whatever him doing this, it was all right with God. Proverbs, let's see. Proverbs 16 and 25. Proverbs 16 and 25. Go ahead and read it.
There is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death.
You see that? There's a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. So, you know, does the Lord, because the Lord told him that if you break the Sabbath, put him to death, didn't he? Didn't he?
Yes.
So now, just because Emperor Constantine gave you Sunday, does that mean that this is right?
No, sir.
That don't mean it's right, dude. Israel went about to establish their own righteousness, didn't they?
Yes, sir.
They were worshiping the sun, didn't they? What the Lord said, okay, y'all worship the sun, I'm gonna destroy y'all. Now, so he said that there's a way that seemeth right unto the man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. Let's go to Acts the 11th chapter. Acts 11. Now we're gonna see in the 1st century Christians. First we're gonna see what day the Lord kept. Then we're gonna see what day the 1st century Christians kept. We're going to Acts 11. Acts 11. And we're going to pick it up at verse 26. Acts 11 and 26. If that's the case, then I could just make up a day and say, well, this is the Lord's Sabbath then, okay? I mean, look, who is Emperor Constantine? He was a man, wasn't he?
Come on.
He wasn't no God. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
He's just a man, just like Paul.
Make it plain.
You know, I give more credence to Paul and his writings than I would Emperor Constantine. But I'm going to show you, Paul never changed the Sabbath day. In fact, Paul kept the Sabbath day. We at Acts 11 and 26. Acts 11 and 26. Go ahead and read it.
And when he had found him, he brought him into Antioch. And it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people. And disciples were called Christians first in Antioch.
And they were called Christians first in Antioch. He said he brought them to the church, didn't he? Let's go to let's go look up a definition real quick. We're gonna look up the definition of Christian. Because you know, a lot of people, in fact, most of your worshipers are Christians, aren't they? They call themselves Christians. Go ahead, read that.
The American Heritage College Dictionary says Christian, professing belief in Jesus as Christ or following the religion based...
Hold on, slow that down a little bit.
Yes,
read
sir.
it over.
Okay. Christians professing belief in Jesus as Christ.
Now they professing belief in Jesus Christ, right? Go ahead.
Or following the religion based on the life and teachings of Jesus.
Now in other words, they following after Christ, right? Go ahead.
Relating to or derived from Jesus.
Is that it?
One who professes belief in Jesus as Christ or follow the Christian religion.
Or follow the Christian religion.
One who lives according to the teachings of Jesus.
Now, let's see if that's what we got now these days. You know, because, you know, like a lady told me one time when I was about the Catholic Church, she said, there's 1 billion of us. I said, oh yeah? What that mean, because 1 billion? Broad is the way that's going to lead to destruction. There's going to be many that's going to go there and there. Narrow is the way that's going to lead to life, and there's going to be few that's going to find it.
That's it, bro.
So you don't want to follow the masses, you want to follow the few. And it's few of us, ain't it?
It is.
It's few of us. So now, we got people now, because you got one people saying, people saying that they Christians, right? You got one people that are traditional Christians, and then you got the other people that's Bible Christians. So now, which one are you going to go with? Are you going to go with traditional Christians, or are you going to go with Bible Christians? Well, I'm going along with the Bible Christians. That's what I'm going along with. And I'm going to show you, because these Bible Christians are ones professing to follow after Christ and his teachings, aren't they?
Yes, sir.
And the Christian religion. So now, let's go to Luke the 4th chapter. Because you know, brother told me, Christ didn't keep the Sabbath day. I said he didn't. You know, trying to get around whatever way they can to get around the Lord's word. And you know, and professing himself to be Christian. This guy told me this was a Christian. Professing himself to be a Christian. Luke 4 and 14. Luke 4 and 14. Well, look, this is what the Christians did. First, let's look at the number one Christian. Although he wasn't called a Christian. I'm just putting that in there. Luke 4. Luke 4 and 14. Luke 4 and 14. Go ahead and read.
Yes, sir. And Jesus returned in the power of the Spirit into Galilee. And there went out a fame of him through all the region round about.
Go ahead.
And he taught in their synagogues, being glorified of all. And he came to Nazareth. And he came to Nazareth where he had been brought up. And as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up for to read.
You see that? Jesus went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up for to read. Now, isn't that what we're doing?
Yes, sir.
Standing up and reading, aren't we? Go ahead.
And there was delivered unto him the book of the prophet Isaiah.
Now there was delivered unto him the book of the prophet who? Isaiah. So he was reading out the Old Testament, wasn't he? Out of the book of Isaiah. Because you know the books were separated. You know, he had the book of Isaiah, the book of Jeremiah, Malachi, right? Moses had his 5 books. Jeremiah had his book. So they handed him the book of Isaiah. And he started reading out of Isaiah. Go ahead and read.
And when he had opened the book, he found a place where it was written.
No, he was thumbing through the book. You understand? He thumbing through the book looking for the place that he wanted to find. Ain't that what we supposed to be doing?
Yes, sir.
Going through the book and find here a little and there a little, right?
Yes,
line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little and there. But go ahead and read though.
Amen. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me.
Man, look at what he read. He went to Isaiah 61 and read this. He said, the Spirit of the Lord was upon me. Go ahead.
Because he have anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He have sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and the recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of the Lord. And he closed the book and gave it again to the minister and sat down. And the eyes of all them that were in the synagogues were fastened on him.
Now you tell me, Jesus was keeping the Sabbath though, wasn't he?
Yes, sir.
Now, the book said, in Leviticus 23rd chapter, that this is a holy convocation, right? So what was Jesus doing there then?
Holding a holy convocation.
Holy convocation. Keeping it. Not only was he worshiping the Lord that day, but he was teaching that day, wasn't he? Isn't that what we're doing?
Amen.
This is what we're supposed to be doing, isn't it? This is what the master, this book is for our example. This book is for our example. And if the master done it, ain't that what we're supposed to? If you say you follow after Christ and you're a Christian, isn't this what you're supposed to be doing?
Yes, sir. Jesus.
Let's go now. Let's look at something else. Let's go to Luke the 13th chapter. Luke 13. And we're going to pick it up at verse 10. Luke 13 and 10. Luke 13 and 10. Say the Lord didn't keep the Sabbath day. He didn't. But the book says he called himself the Lord of the Sabbath. He called himself the Lord of the Sabbath. Luke 13 and 10. Go ahead and read it.
And he was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath.
Go ahead.
And he was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath.
On the what?
On the Sabbath.
On the Sabbath. What is he doing there on the Sabbath? What was Christ doing there on the Sabbath? Worshiping the Lord, keeping the Sabbath, holding the holy convocation. And he was teaching on this day. The best teacher they ever had. What was it?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and read.
Yes, sir. Bar none. And behold, there was a woman which had a spirit of infirmity 18 years, and was bowed together, and could in no wise lift up herself. And when Jesus saw her, he called her to him, and said unto her, Woman, thou art loose from thine infirmity.
Now, you know, he said, you know, thou art loose from thine infirmity. Because, you know, you got people say, well, man, you work on the Sabbath. I'm like, man, look. Of course, when I got the job, I ain't telling them, look, yeah, I can work every day. I ain't telling them that, did I? I told them, look, I don't work on the Sabbath. And many other people, brothers and sisters, I don't work on the Sabbath. And they say, okay, you ain't got to work on the Sabbath, right? Down the line, what they do? They say, well, you know, it's mandatory for you to work on the Sabbath. What you gonna do? You got to work, don't you? God don't want you to be stupid and quit your job. But then you quit every job that you get when they make it mandatory for you to work. Then where you gonna work? You got to feed yourself and your family, don't you? Because God don't want you to be foolish and say, well, oh no, I can't work on. I already told them I couldn't work. They already honored it. But then they come later on and say, well, you got to work on the Sabbath. What I'm gonna do? Oh, I can't. I'm gonna quit. No. Because you're going to quit just about every job you get. Just about every, especially in my line of work. But go ahead and read though.
Yes, sir. Verse 13. And he laid his hands on her, and immediately she was made straight and glorified God.
Now he did this on the Sabbath day. He healed this woman. That's work, ain't it?
Come on.
And we're looking at the master here. Go ahead.
And the ruler of the synagogues answered with indignation, because that Jesus had healed on the Sabbath day, and said unto the people, there are 6 days in which men ought to work.
Now hold on. The Lord, He's the one who gave you the Sabbath. He's gonna try to be smart now. Well, the Lord gave you 6 days to work. He the one Lord know what He was doing, don't He? He the one who gave you the Sabbath day. He is Lord of the Sabbath. But go ahead and read.
Yes, sir. There are 6 days in which men ought to work. In them, therefore, come and be healed. Come in them, therefore come and be healed.
Go ahead.
And not on the Sabbath day.
And not only that, they're going to correct the master. Go ahead and read.
The Lord then answered him and said, Thou hypocrite.
You understand? He called him a hypocrite, didn't he? Go ahead and read.
Doth not each one of you on the Sabbath day loose his ox or his ass from the stall and lead him away to watering?
Ain't that work? He called it. You see, if you gotta work on the Sabbath, if you gotta work, then you gotta work. But the Lord would say, look, He don't want you working on the Sabbath day, though, right? And you try your best with everything not to work on the Sabbath day, right? The Lord knows what country we in and where He put us, and what country and what people He dealing with.
Yes, sir.
He knows this. You know, and then the brothers that say all this is the same brothers that don't even acknowledge the Sabbath day. I don't even know why I'm arguing with them. You don't even acknowledge the Sabbath day, let alone keep it. So what I got to explain anything to you for? You don't even acknowledge the Sabbath day. It was different if you come to me and say, hey man, well, you know, you're a brother, you know, and you keeping the Sabbath. Then, you know, you come to me and say something a little bit. But you don't even acknowledge what day the Sabbath day is, and now you got something to say about the Lord's Sabbath and about somebody else keeping it? I'm getting a little bit too personal. Let's go.
16.
Go ahead.
And ought not this woman, being a daughter of Abraham, who Satan...
Go back to verse 15. Go back to verse 15 and read it. Go ahead.
15. The Lord then answered him and said, Thou hypocrite,
Go
does
ahead.
not each one of you on the Sabbath day loose his ox, on the Sabbath, loose his ox,
Go ahead.
or his ass from the stall, and lead him away to watering?
That's work, ain't it?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and read.
And ought not this woman, being a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan hath bound, lo, these 18 years be loosed from the bond of the Sabbath day?
On the Sabbath day? Should she be loose from her bond on the Sabbath day? Go ahead and read.
And when he had said these things, all his adversaries were ashamed.
You see that? And that's how these brothers, they should be ashamed of themselves. You're going to try to correct somebody else on keeping the Sabbath day and looking at somebody else's faults on the Sabbath day when you don't even acknowledge the Sabbath day? Who you think going to be the worst trouble? The ones who trying their best to keep it and keeping it, or the ones don't even acknowledge it and ain't keeping it at all. Who do you think gonna be the worst? Gonna get the worst punishment? Go ahead and read verse 17.
At the top. And when he had said these things, all his adversaries were ashamed, and all the people rejoiced for all the glorious things that were done by him.
Now let's go to Matthew 28:1. And I love to read this to the brother that always talk about the Lord done away with his Sabbath. Not to poke fun at them or belittle them or I'm right, you wrong. No, but just to correct them and show them that look, man, God didn't do away with his Sabbath day. Because if he did, why is this written right here? This is after Jesus died and rose from the grave. Go ahead and read Matthew 28:1. Read it.
In the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week.
Stop right there. Now, what we got right here? We got the Sabbath day and we got the first day of the week, don't we?
Yes, sir.
We got the seventh day of the week and we got the first day of the week, don't we?
Yes, sir.
This is after Jesus died and rose from the grave. Because that's when men try to say he done away with his law. He was the end of the law and all that, you know. Christ was the end of the law. Well, he wasn't the end of this law right here because it said in the end of the Sabbath, what comes after the seventh day of the week? The first day, don't it?
That's it.
In the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre. Why is the Lord still using the Sabbath day and the first day of the week? If he done away with it. Especially if he'd have made the first day of the week the Sabbath day, why didn't he call the first day of the week the Sabbath day? Because he would have done it right here, wouldn't he? This after he died and rose from the grave.
You're playing, bro.
Why did he do it right here? You understand what I'm saying? Now, let's go to 1 Corinthians, the 11th chapter, because people say that Paul change the Sabbath day? Because remember, we read earlier that Paul taught, and he was long-winded too, wasn't he? On the first day of the week. So long-winded that the guy fell down from the loft and died. Paul must have been preaching. Then, after Paul brought the guy back, well, the Lord brought him back to life by the hands of Paul, Paul got him to start preaching some more. 1 Corinthians 11. 1 Corinthians 11 and 1. Read it.
Be ye followers of me, even as I also am of Christ.
Now you see that? So he was a Christian, wasn't he? If you want to look at Christians as being followers of Christ, he said, be ye followers of me, even as I also am of Christ. So you want to follow after Paul? Let's check out what Paul did. Did he keep the first day of the week as a Sabbath or the seventh day of the week as a Sabbath? Paul followed after Christ. What day did Christ keep? He kept the Sabbath day, didn't he?
Yes,
as a Sabbath.
Yes, sir.
Now let's go look at Paul for a minute here. Let's go to, first before we go to Paul writing, let's go look at something real quick. Let's go to Isaiah 56. I meant to throw this in here. Isaiah, we're going to come right back to Paul. Isaiah 56. Isaiah 56. And because you know a lot of people say, well, that's for the Israelites. Let's see. Isaiah 56, and we're gonna get straight to the point. Isaiah 56 and verse 6. Isaiah 56 and verse 6. Because like I say, people try to say that this for the Israelites. Because like I said, we ain't ducking and dodging nobody. And we're not going to leave no stone unturned. Isaiah 56 and verse 6. Go ahead.
Also the sons of the strangers that joined themselves to the Lord to serve him. To
serve him.
And to love the name of the Lord. To be his servants.
To be his servant. Not the servant of your pastor. You understand? But God's servant. Go ahead.
Everyone that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it and taking hold of my covenant.
Ooh. You see that? He said, also the sons and strangers that join themselves to the Lord to serve him and to love the name of the Lord. What he said in John the 15th chapter, I think that is. If you love me, keep my commandments. Didn't he? He said to love the name of the Lord, to be his servant. To be his servants. Everyone that keeps the Sabbath from polluting it and taking hold of my covenant. Go ahead and read.
Even them will I bring to my holy mountain, and make them joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices shall be accepted upon mine altar.
Go ahead.
For my house shall be called a house of prayer for all people.
Ooh. You can't get around that, can you?
Come on.
This for the stranger too, ain't it?
Yes, sir.
So you just can't say it was for Israel. No, this for the stranger too. He said, I'm gonna get them that name better than sons and daughters. I'm gonna bring them to my holy mountain. What are you talking about? He gonna get them salvation.
That's it. Yes, sir.
Keeping the Sabbath.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You can't get around this. Now let's see if Paul, what day Paul, because he said, follow me as I follow Christ, didn't he? Now let's see what day he kept. Let's go to Acts 13th chapter. Acts 13. Because you know everybody, Paul this and Paul that. Paul even tell you, follow me as I follow Christ. Acts 13, and we're going to pick it up at verse 13. Let's see what day Paul kept. Acts 13 and 13. Acts 13 and 13. Everybody got it? Amen. Go ahead and read it.
Now when Paul and his company loosed from Paphos, they came to Perga and Pamphylia, and John departing from them returned to Jerusalem.
Go ahead.
But when they departed from Perga, they came to Antioch and Pisidia, and went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and sat down.
You see that? They went to the synagogue on the Sabbath day and said, this is Paul. Everybody's beloved Paul. Then he say, follow me as I follow Christ. What day did Jesus go into the synagogue and sit down? On the Sabbath day. On the Sabbath day. And what were they doing in the synagogue on the Sabbath day? Go ahead and read.
And after the reading of the law and the prophets, the rulers of the synagogues.
After the reading of the law and the prophets. Only thing different we doing today, we reading the law and the testimony. We reading the law and the testimony, which is the old book and the new book. He don't speak according to this word. Is what it said Isaiah the 20th chapter, to the law and to the testimony. If they speak not according to this word, that's because there is no light in them. So we read the Old Testament and the New Testament. You understand? Because brother accused me of that too. Man, that's all y'all do is go in the Old Testament. I said, oh yeah? Let's go to the New Testament then. Paul didn't keep the Sabbath. Paul didn't keep no Sabbath. He did. What this say right here?
It's written.
And when they departed from Perga, they came to Antioch and Pisidia and went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and sat down. And what were they doing? Reading the law and the prophets. Go ahead.
The rulers of the synagogue sent unto them, saying, Ye men and brethren, if ye have any word of exhortation for the people, say on. Then
go ahead.
Yes, sir. 16. Then Paul stood up and beckoning with his hand said, Men of Israel, and ye that fear God, give audience.
Now, Paul get ready to start preaching to them, isn't he?
Yes, sir.
This on the Sabbath, though, ain't it?
Yes, sir.
Now, let's skip down to verse 42. Skip down to verse 42 and read it.
And when the Jews were gone out of the synagogue, the Gentiles besought that these words might be preached to them the next Sabbath.
Ooh. The Gentiles, they want to hear these words the next Sabbath? Why? Because the Sabbath still exists, a perpetual covenant.
Yes, sir.
You understand? The Sabbath exists even today. But why would these people want these words to be preached to these Gentiles? Now, we ain't just talking about Jews. We're talking about Gentiles, right? Because he said, and when the Jews were going out of the synagogue, the Gentiles besought that these words might be preached to them, what? The next Sabbath. So not only were the Jews keeping the Jews keeping the Sabbath, but the Gentiles wanted to keep it too.
Make it simple, brother. Yes, sir.
You understand? Oh, but you ain't started getting this first day of the week Sabbath until when? The 4th century. We in the 1st century. We in the 1st century Christians right here. That's what we're dealing with, aren't we?
Yes, sir.
These are ones that fall out to Christ. These are 1st century Christians, aren't they?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and read. Read that verse 42 again.
Okay. And when the Jews were gone out of the synagogue, the Gentiles besought that these words might be preached to them the next Sabbath. Now when the congregation was broken up, many of the Jews and religious proselytes followed Paul and Barnabas, who speaking to them, persuaded them to continue in the grace of God. And the next Sabbath day came almost the whole city together to hear the word of God.
Ooh, you see, here come the whole city now to hear the word of God on the Sabbath day.
Yes, sir.
So now when did it change? When did the Lord do away with his Sabbath day? Don't look like he done away with it neither. Don't look like Paul done away with it neither. Just because he got together and will start teaching on the first day of the week, that don't mean nothing, do it?
No, sir.
I mean, don't get me wrong now. Paul, you can teach any day of the week, but this is the day the Lord commanded you to keep. And this is the day that Paul was keeping himself, wasn't he? This is the day that Jesus kept himself, wasn't it?
That's right. Make that difference.
Let's look at Paul one more time. Let's go to Acts the 18th chapter. Acts 18. Because everybody want to holler Paul. Well, why don't they read this then? Acts 18, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Acts 18 and 1. Acts 18 and 1. Go ahead.
After these things, Paul departed from Athens and came to Corinth, and found a certain Jew named Aquila, born in Pontus, lately come from Italy, with his wife Priscilla, because that Claudius had commanded all Jews to depart for Rome, and came into them.
Go ahead.
And because he was of the same crowd, he abode with them in Wroth. And for their occupation they were tent makers.
Go ahead.
And he reasoned in the synagogues every Sabbath.
And he reasoned in the synagogue what?
Every Sabbath.
Every Sabbath. Now you think he was just resting on the Sabbath day?
No, sir.
You understand? Not doing no work? No, he reasoned in the synagogue what? Every Sabbath. And what? He was holding a holy convocation, wasn't he?
Indeed.
And what is a holy convocation?
Gathering.
A holy gathering for worship.
Yes, sir.
And he reasoned with them. Oh, see, he wasn't keeping the Sabbath day. He was just reasoning with them. Man, come on, don't try to play with words. That's what brothers, just try to play with words just to get around keeping the Lord's Sabbath. Read that again.
Yes, sir. And he reasoned in the synagogues every Sabbath and persuaded the Jews and the Greeks.
He persuaded the Jews and the Greeks. Not only was he keeping every Sabbath, wasn't he?
Indeed.
Every Sabbath. Persuading the Jews and the Greeks. Now, let's go to Psalms, the 95th chapter. So it's safe to say, I think it's pretty safe to say that the Lord's Sabbath day is a perpetual covenant, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
He said, all your generations keep the Sabbath, didn't he? It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. Forever. That's why Paul was keeping the Sabbath day. That's why those first century Christians were keeping the Sabbath day. Let's go to Psalms 95. We're almost there. Psalms 95, and we're going to pick it up at verse 7. Psalms 95 and verse 7. This is something that you cannot get around. This is something that you cannot do away with. Only God can do away with his covenant or his Sabbath. Only God can do this. Man does not have the authority to do this. Whatsoever Peter loosed on earth, is loosed in heaven. Whatsoever the apostles loosed on earth is loosed in heaven. Yeah, that might be so. And it is so. But I tell you one thing, they never loosed the Sabbath. They ain't never loosed that. Because they were still keeping it.
Amen.
Now, this is Psalm 95, and we're going to pick it up at verse 7. Psalm 95 and 7. Go ahead.
For he is our God, and we are the people of his pasture.
He is our God, and we are the people of his pasture. Go ahead and read.
And the sheep of his hand.
Today,
if ye will hear his voice.
Go ahead.
Harden not your heart.
If you hear his voice today, don't harden your heart. Don't go back and say, oh, well, you know, that stuff you read me, it sound all right, but no. My preachers say the Sabbath day is the first day of the week, so that's what day I'm going to keep. If you hear his voice, whose voice? The Lord's voice.
That's right.
Harden not your heart. Go ahead and read.
As in the provocation, as in the day of temptation in the wilderness, when your fathers tempted me, proved me and saw my work.
Go ahead.
40 years long was I grieved with this generation, and said, it is a people that do err in their heart, and they have not known my ways.
Go ahead.
Unto whom I swear in my wrath that they should not enter into my rest.
They shall not enter into my rest. See, we don't keep the Sabbath day for nothing. We keeping it because of the ultimate Sabbath day that is to come.
Teach.
He said that unto them I swear in my wrath that they should not enter into my rest. What does Sabbath mean? Right. Let's see. Let's give you a definition of Sabbath real quick. Let's give you a definition of Sabbath. Let's go. We're gonna go to Encarta Encyclopedia this, because I want to be fair about this. So therefore I'm gonna read you this too. Go ahead and read. Saturday,
seventh day of the week. Named in honor of the Roman god Saturn.
Now listen, hey, like I gave you Sunday is a